Mustache in Hell is an overhead, twin-stick shooter where you'll engage in arena-style combat throughout its 5 different levels. You'll be treated to some nice pixel art and some decent music as you play through this difficult, but mostly fair shooter. But before we get started with the review, if you enjoy indie games and like learning about lesser-known titles that don't get a lot of coverage, consider clicking that subscribe button as I do my best to help spread the word about these games. Thanks for watching this review. Now let's get into it. In Mustache in Hell, you'll step into the shoes of Officer John Mustache, who just woke up in the underworld. You'll learn that you're not quite dead yet, but that you are next on the Grim Reaper's list to go. But he strikes up a deal with you to allow you to return to life in exchange for 5 cubes he is seeking, which are all conveniently located in each of the game's 5 different levels. It's evident right from the opening dialogue that comedy is going to be a theme throughout, and as such, this is a game that's not meant to be taken seriously, and it's all the better for it. After a brief tutorial of the combat, you'll then be off to start your mission. Each of the 5 levels are fairly linear, but they do house some secrets and hidden collectibles to reward you for your exploration. So be sure to keep an eye out for alternate paths and fake walls instead of just going room to room when you acquire a key. Every time you engage in battle, you'll be trapped inside a combat arena, with your objective either being to clear all of the enemies to unlock the next door, or to kill a specific enemy in order to progress. Those are the only 2 types of combat rooms that you'll encounter, and you'll be able to tell what your objective is based on if you have an enemy meter or not. On the right side of the screen, below John's health, there will be a red bar showing your progress for clearing the room. If you don't have this meter, your objective will usually be to simply kill the largest enemy in the room, or the boss if that's where you're currently at. Rooms without an enemy meter always felt more difficult to me, since they host infinitely respawning enemies until you clear the main target. There are no permanent upgrades to John's arsenal, but he's able to pick up some different weapons that spawn at random throughout the combat sequences. Guns such as a flamethrower, submachine gun, machine gun, shotgun, all of these will be at your disposal until their limited amount of ammunition is depleted. You'll always start off with a pistol, but that will be holstered until you deplete the ammo of your gun pickup. There are 2 types of throwables that you can collect in the form of proximity mines and hand grenades, and you'll always know when you have some of these as the counter is oddly placed right next to John. I found this to be a hindrance quite a few times as it blocks part of the screen closest to John and makes it possible for projectiles and smaller enemies to be hidden behind it. I'm not entirely sure why your explosive ammo count isn't in the upper left with your gun ammo, but I digress. The controls are very responsive, and John will have everything necessary to be successful on his mission, but it will take a combination of good aim, movement, and strategy. You will often have to manage the short cooldown on your dodge maneuver in order to navigate around the arena to collect the power-ups in order to prevent being stuck with just your pistol. Having only limited time power-ups forces the player to move around and be active rather than being able to simply camp in the most advantageous spot. Sitting still for too long will often result in the player being either overwhelmed or sustaining a substantial amount of damage, especially in the last 2 levels. I overall found the combat to be fun and mostly well balanced throughout, with the lone exception being the final level. It felt like quite a bit of a difficulty spike with the excessive amount of traps and super tanky enemies. There are plenty of extra lives to be found to give you a fair chance at success. I also had a few instances of cheap deaths because after clearing a room, you're briefly frozen in place, and while traps will pass through you without damaging you, if they happen to hit you right as this brief moment expires, you'll take a hit. The traps despawn when you use the earned key on that room's door, so I'm not sure why they didn't just despawn the traps after the last enemy is killed. It was also during level 5 where I started to feel that the combat was getting to be a bit repetitive. Luckily, the game is on the shorter side, with my total playtime clocking in just under 2 hours to beat the game, so it certainly didn't overstay its welcome. There are hidden collectibles that you can go back and look for, since you can replay the levels at your leisure, so if you want to get more time out of Mustache in Hell and reach that coveted 100% completion on your save file, the option is there. The last thing I want to mention, since this is often a concern on the aging Nintendo Switch hardware, is the performance. I played entirely in docked mode and never experienced any frame rate dips, bugs, crashes, nothing. It ran flawlessly. Overall, Mustache in Hell is a game that I enjoyed my time with. It has a few small quirks, and its basic level design and combat means it starts to get repetitive by the end, but its short runtime and low asking price makes this an easy recommendation, as you'll definitely get your money's worth. Thank you for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, comment below if you have any questions, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, as I cover a lot of different indie games on my channel. Hope to see you on my next video, but until then, have a good one.